music to the noise, yeah, the mess we make. Machine Bun Kelly get caught in the fray. Facts and logic with a twist of chest. Strip it down to truth, yeah, forget the rest. Humor pulls the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows that set the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity when they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lives. Seen Fun Kelly with a set of clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts flow.
Oh, and welcome to the Pun Show. Hang on, got to do one thing. Hey, Google, turn on the lights. There we go. It makes me a little more visible. So, how's everybody doing today? Yesterday, we'll just jump right into the stuff. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about the Petrodollar, and I really was not familiar with it. And so rather than remain ignorant, I dove into that. I prepared a 41-slide deck for today, all about the Iran war and the petrodollar and how that could be bad and how that could be good and who it's going to be bad for and who it's going to be good for. So anyway, if that was something you're interested in, might be a thing you want to hang out for. So while, before I dive into that, I want to talk about one other thing, or a couple other things first. The first thing is Donald Trump just refuses to accept that the United States was behind that school bombing. And I just find that kind of, what he said today was that he didn't know anything about it. How can the president of the United States not know anything about that? Shouldn't the president at least be mildly curious about whether or not we killed 150 children on accident? I mean, I'm not saying that we did it on purpose. I'm saying we did it on accident. But if we did it on accident, we should at least acknowledge it instead of lying about it and saying Iran did it. Like, why is that so hard? Why can't we just say things that are true? I mean, not we. I mean the royal we. The America we. Why can't Donald Trump just say something that's true for once? It's a trick question. Of course he can't. But so anyway, if you were watching yesterday, I said that if in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district, I said, watch for that. If the Democrats get 40% of the votes, that's going to be really, really telling for November. Because that means that that is a red district. That is one of the reddest districts in the entire country. And if there is a significant number of people voting for the Democrats in that district, then that means that there is real and legitimate breach in the MAGA wall. That means hardcore MAGAs are starting to leave Trump, and that's always been his safety net, right? Like there's always that 37-38% that will never leave him, and basically that entire district is that kind of MAGA. And he won that district by 27 points. Is it 27 or 37? Maybe 37. Anyway, it was a 17-point shift. The Democrats got 40% of the votes. That was a 17-point shift. That is a massive shift, and it's consistent with all the other off-term elections, which have been, on average around 13 to 17%. From Trump support to Democrat support in all of these off-term elections. And we have to qualify this a little bit because, like these midterm or these elections are one-offs. They're special elections. People are going just to vote for that one thing. This one is a little different because one, it's for an actual congressperson. Number two, it was a somewhat, surprise thing and controversial. And, okay, hang on. Hi, Tabitha. How you doing? I think, have I met you yet? I don't think I've seen you on here before. MAGA is better. I don't know what MAGA. Oh, make Uganda great again. Bring Idi Amin, right? I don't know what that has to do with anything. Like me, I'm the Funk Congress. So anyway, the Funk. I don't know what the Funk Congress is supposed to be. Funk. There's funk can be a good word or a bad word, or just Funk Congress. Anyway, so back to the election. I lost my focus. Hi, Gary. Nothing. It's YouTube, dude. Can't take it so seriously. Oh, I don't take it seriously. Don't worry. So let me find my brain. Okay, so Congress. So the elections. So then when you look at national polling, Democrats have had like a 6-7 point lead. And then you look at the way things are going, like they're not, the direction we're going is away from Donald Trump, not towards Donald Trump, where it's getting worse for them. So that the Democrats got 40% in MTG's district. I'm not under any delusion that the Republicans are going to lose that district. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that the Democrats are going to win that district. I'm saying the Democrats getting 40% in that district is huge, because that shows that some of Donald Trump's most hardcore supporters are starting to peel off. Some of them, whether it's the Epstein files, whether it's the no new wars promise, whether it's everything, they voted for him because he was going to make things more affordable, all those things. Or maybe it's the combination. Maybe it's just the stacking of one broken promise after another, one lie after another. Maybe it's the fact that while he's sitting there talking about, how affordability is just a Democratic word now, and he's making everything better, and he's talking about lying about gas prices, and people know what they're paying at the pump, and he's sitting there making $4 billion a year off of hawking partings and stuff. Maybe there's just a fraction, like 1, 2, 3, 4% of MAGAs. When you look at the 40%, the Democrats went 40%. That means 10% of the hardcore MAGAs peeled off. That is a lot in the elections where they're that close. If Donald Trump loses 10% of his support, we're not just talking about the Democrats taking back Congress. Or the House. We're talking about there's a very real possibility that the Democrats could win Texas and win the Senate. Funk is a word. That's for sure. Funk is a word. The funky funk. There's a song. We got the funk. Is that anyway? The world is on the brink of madness. Mankind loves to hate. So anyway, that was one thing I wanted to talk about. Is just we're getting closer. We're getting closer. It's James Tallarico is ahead of both the Republicans in the polls right now. And I know we've been talking about, flipping Texas for years. But this really could be it. Like, this is not, oh, they're only behind by 3 points. They're within the margin of error. Since I've lived here, I don't recall seeing Democrats running ahead of the Republicans in the polls for a statewide election. And then you've got some things, there's something called dummy mandering, which is where when you gerrymander a district, you're peeling away a safe ditch, you're padding from a safe district to bring in those voters into a district you don't have. But if you're talking about peeling away 10% of Trump's hardcore support, you're starting to look at that safety buffer you thought you kept is no longer safe. And so you sacrifice voters from one district in order to win another district, and then you end up losing both districts. That's called dummy mandering. It's where you're a dummy in gerrymandering. And there's a real chance that the Democrats could actually pick up seats in Texas because of the gerrymandering. So if it's true that if what happened in Georgia holds, and Georgia doesn't have a huge Latino population either. At least I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene's district does. So it could be even worse than what it showed there. So anyway, that's my take on that. You guys, what do you, if anybody wants, do you think that the Democrats are going to pick up the House or even the Senate? What do you think is going to happen? I know Donald Trump knows I know what Donald Trump thinks is going to happen. Donald Trump thinks if he does not do something to interfere with the election, he's in trouble. He's going to be a 3-time impeached president. At least that's what he thinks. I know he thinks that because he's said that they're going to impeach him again, which, considering all the crimes, it's not unrealistic. Yeah, what do you think? If anybody wants to pipe in, go ahead. But that also brings up the SAVE Act. When she's taken what was already a terrible law, and he's made it more terrible by throwing, trans stuff in there. So let's address first the SAVE Act, then the trans part of that. Let's just dismiss all the other nonsense. And let's just look at a simple fact. Right now, Arizona is sort of a unique state out of all the states because it has a similar law to the SAVE Act that applies at the state level. But the Supreme Court wouldn't let it ride at the federal level because it wasn't a federal law yet. This would be moot if the SAVE Act were to pass, which I don't think it will. But what they have now is you have a group of people who are citizens that don't have a birth certificate or passport. They don't have the documentation to prove they're citizens. And all they have is like the little checkbox I swear under penalty of perjury that I'm a citizen. And they have about 45,000 people that are registered to vote through that vehicle. And not one person, not one of them, has been accused of, prosecuted for, convicted of, investigated for lying. There's no reason to believe that any of them lied. None of them have been accused of perjury or anything like that. None of them have been accused of voting illegally. So we can assume that they're doing that legally. They're just simply do not have birth certificates or passports and don't have access to them. And it's about 1% of all the voters in Arizona. It's 1.04% of all registered voters in Arizona don't have the documentation to prove they're voters. So if we were to extrapolate that across the country to all the registered voters in the country, it comes out to around 1.8 million voters. That just, if everything's consistent, might be a little more, might be a little less, but if we're ballparking, 1.8 million. 1.8 million voters that just simply don't have access to birth certificates. That takes the hypothetical out of it. That's a real thing. 1.8 million Americans probably just do not have birth certificates or passports, and they don't have the ability to get them. And so that's 1.8 actual American citizens who would be disenfranchised by the SAVE Act. And it's that simple. You either want to disenfranchise Americans based on made up stuff about non-citizens voting, or you say citizens should be able to vote regardless of what Donald Trump lies about. That's it. That's the whole thing. What do you think? Donald Trump's top 7 priorities are Donald Trump, John Barron. What are 5 more aliases for Donald Trump? I think Donald Trump's top 7 priorities are his brand, himself, his family, his country. I don't think he gives a crap about his country. Maybe his country club, his money, his fame. Yeah, he does not care about America. Should we let illegal immigrants? No, I don't think we should let illegal immigrants vote. It's a constitutional issue. There are some, I don't think they should be able to vote in federal elections. There are some places where they're allowed to vote in school board elections if they have children. And I don't mean not just illegal immigrants, non-citizens, because some immigrants are here legally. But if you're an immigrant and you have a child in school and you're paying taxes for that school, you should be able to have some say in their education, what with you being a parent of that person in the school. So there are some places like San Francisco that will allow, non-citizens to vote in school board elections if they have children in the school. Maybe your birth certificate should be your voter ID. No. Because some people don't have access to the birth certificate. Follow the money, Trump family getting billions in kickbacks from Saudi Arabia. And not just that, he's getting them from drug dealers and whatnot. He doesn't care. There's no crime that he won't sell a pardon to. No, 1.8 million voters are not illegal, though. Citizenship should. All right, we don't condone racism here. Maybe you should find a candidate that can win by 4 million votes. We had one that won by 4 million votes. Donald, 81 minus 77 is 4, right? Donald Jundis, is that what you were talking about? Donald Jundis Trump. John, that's good. I haven't heard that one before. That's a good one. Hey, Tube. It's the first time I think I've seen you on here. If you don't have a birth certificate or passport, then maybe you shouldn't be voting. Why not? The Constitution does not say you have to have a birth certificate or a passport. What are you supposed to do if you don't have a birth certificate? What if, if a birth certificate wasn't issued when you were born, were you supposed to demand one as a baby? You think immigrants call it I'm migrant? No. The U.S. is the only country that has dropped nuclear bombs during combat. This is true. Jesus, this is, one of the things that's annoying me is the way they keep selling this, Iran was a week away from getting nukes nonsense. They weren't away from getting a week. And now they're talking about freedom. You keep hearing them say, oh, it's worth the price of freedom. Or that's the price. What freedom are you? Do you think that, like, if we had not, like, I think there are Republicans, there are MAGAs that have persuaded themselves that if Donald Trump had not invaded when he did, right now we would be all living in a nuclear wasteland under Sharia law, dominated by the Ayatollah. Jesus told me Jesus should have all your votes because he's above all the evil people. You vote. Okay, I guess there's that. Jesus is an American, but, you know, to be fair, Jesus was not born in America, so he's not constitutionally eligible. And he hasn't lived in America, so he's not constitutionally eligible to run for office. I'm so old, my birth certificate is etched into stone. I don't know who's getting defensive. We don't condone racism, but we make fun of it. The president, orange is not a race, it's a choice. Iran. So you want a country who chants death to America to have nukes? Iran wasn't going to have nukes. Iran doesn't have nukes. It's like, what's the point of that argument? Do you know? No, I don't want a country that has chants death to America to have nukes. Iran wasn't going to have nukes. That's not how it works, Pure Joy. Jesus has nothing. If it's not issued at birth, you can't get one because it wasn't issued at birth. Jesus has nothing to do with voter registration. Yes, there were. Yeah, anyway, I'm not gonna. They didn't have nukes. They didn't have nukes. It's just they didn't. And we weren't a week away from getting them. Could you talk about the new method of enriching uranium with advanced lasers instead of using centrifuges? No, but I don't know anything about that. I'm not a nuclear scientist. And the IAEA has not brought this into the equation. So I don't think it's a valid statement. We do not need to sit there and make up ways to make Iran be a nuclear threat. Iran was not going to attack us with nuclear weapons. If you have evidence, go for it. But hypothetical, nonsensical, stupid arguments like, oh, the new method of enriching uranium with advanced nuclear lasers. Shut up. You're right. Iran isn't going to have nukes. Iran was never going to have nukes. Well, not within a week anyway. I'm one of the Americans that served the military for my country. My dad was, my grandfather was, my great-grandfather was, my great-great-grandfather was. Why do you hate them? Why do you hate the America's generations who fought for our country? Why do you want to besmirch everyone who has ever fought for your country by selling your soul for a man who has never served our country, whose children have never served our country, and whose ancestors have never served our country? Not one person in the entire Trump dynasty has ever served our country. My family has. I have. So don't condescend to me about patriotism when Donald Trump wouldn't know patriotism if he had arches in his feet. They didn't have the materials to start it. They didn't have the material to deliver it. They didn't have the ability to enrich the uranium anymore. They were not going to have nuclear weapons. That's it. We're not going to discuss that anymore. Yes, you can't blow up a country with just uranium. All right. Didn't the U.S. have an agreement with Iran that said Iran wouldn't make nukes once the U.S. struck down? They did. All right. We also do not take anti-Semitic comments here. How does this guy know? How does he know? How do you know? It's always like I know. You know, like, how would you know? But then, like, how would you know, dude? I know because I read. There's all kinds of, how did I know that Iraq didn't have weapons of mass destruction? Oh, by the way, here's a joke for you. Stop me if you've heard this one. Iran's nuclear weapons, Iraq's weapons of mass destruction, Donald Trump's healthcare plan, walk into a bar. I'll tell you the punchline in 2 weeks. You're getting barraged by brat brains. Yeah, Kitty's not here. I'm starting to kick some of them out. I got kicked out of boot camp. What service? I don't, because 80 years have fought. Forget your Trump. Yeah. Sorry, bot. All right, so I'm just looking for serious comments, both Democrats and Republicans. No, they didn't have enough. Okay, are you a real person, Pure Joy? Because I would like to discuss this with you if you're a real person, but if you're not, I'm not going to argue with the bot. They did not brag that they had enough material for 9 nuclear weapons when they were at the negotiating. No, they did not. And what they did do, according to people other than Iran and America that were at the negotiating table, is they agreed to downblend all of their uranium as much as possible. And what they did agree to is to have regular inspections of all their nuclear, all their enrichment facilities. So, you know, I'm not going to like entertain your little fantastical nonsense. Actually read something other than what Fox News told you. Tell people who can have them. Okay, did Joe Biden know more than you when you were the president? Did you ever disagree with Joe Biden, Eddie? Huh? Did you agree with everything Joe Biden said? All this nonsense. Why are MAGA so stupid? Oh, would you? Yes, they agree. They had enriched uranium up to 60%. You need 90% to get a nuclear weapon, one nuclear weapon. If they took all of their uranium before we before we obliterated their enrichment facilities, to quote Donald Trump, if they took all of their uranium and processed it at maximum ability capacity for a full week, they could have gotten one nuclear weapon, but that would be physically impossible because there's this thing called physics. And to run all of their nuclear, all their facilities at maximum capacity for a full week would have like blown them up. Like, you can't do that. They just could not do that. So no, they had enriched uranium up to 60%. They would have to enrich it up to 90%, which wouldn't have been possible within a week anyway. And even if that was before we bombed their enrichment abilities. So I've said this before. This is like if you have caps in your bullet, or if you have blanks in a gun, and you're sitting there trying to pack all the gunpowder into one bullet, but you don't even have a gun. You're not a threat to anybody. You're a potential threat down the road, but you're not an imminent threat. There's no way that Iran was going to attack us within a week. It just wasn't going to happen. Would you agree that the laws of physics still apply in this kind of discourse? So I'm okay. What do you mean, am I okay with a country who chants death to America? We're sitting there bombing Iraq and killing their children. Are you okay with killing children in Iran? Oh, now I thought it was 9. Would you guys make up your mind? Is it 9? Is it 11? I heard 40 the other day from some senator. How much? They're like, this is the problem when you guys make up numbers, is that they're not even consistent. They didn't have enough uranium to make any nuclear weapons. They didn't have enough to make any. Zero. That's how many they had. No, I don't think Trump reads. Thanks, Giz. And you know, your intellectual, your intellect. Okay, bye, little friend. Okay, he's serving our country now. You are a communist like most Democrats that hate the USA. You're a dick. All right. I'm against. All right. Yeah, I guess as long as I'm against freedom of speech anyway, you won't be bothered. Then you got zero arguments. Anyway, so all this, anyway, getting a lot of nonsense here. You can make a nuclear bomb with the uranium and enrich up to 420. No, you can't. Okay, according to people that actually know what they're talking about, you can't. All right, like according to the actual international authority on nuclear weapons, since versus some rando dude on Twitter or on YouTube, according to the actual authority, the singular authority on the topic in the entire world, Iran cannot make nuclear weapons. All right, according to you, they can. I'm going to take the singular authority in the entire world over YouTube rando on it. All right, so oh, kitty, where are you? All right. Okay. All right. So, all right, let's come back here. So yesterday I brought up, some people brought up the petrodollar. I wasn't that familiar with it. So I spent the last day looking into it. And it's actually, I think it's really interesting. There's a lot to learn about here. And so today I want to consider the Iran war. The petrodollar. Is the Iran war going to help us with the petrodollar? Is it good that it helps us with the petrodollar? If it does, is it good and bad? Who does it help? Who profits? Who pays? All of that. So we've got four things I'm going to talk about here. Like gas prices, inflation, global power, and the world our kids inherit. All kind of fall into this umbrella of the petrodollar. Is the war protecting the petrodollar or accelerating change? So you know more than the military? No, I don't. The military does not think they were a week away. Okay. Are these dummies actually for this war? Yeah, they're trying to convince me that we were all going to be living under a mushroom cloud in a nuclear wasteland under Sharia law if Donald Trump hadn't saved us. Like they're just insane. I don't know if they're real people or they're bots, but they're not worth engaging with. Every world leader that has tried to go out the petrodollar was taken out by the U.S. We all like the USA, just don't like their foreign policy. So where are you at? It sounds like you're not American. We all like the USA, we just don't like their. So you're using their instead of our. Can I ask what country you're in? Is that? Can't tell. So what do you think? Okay, so somebody says, I'm going to do these comment breaks now. I've kind of interspersing the comment breaks in with the slide deck to make it easier to review your comments. Every world leader that tried to go off the petrodollar was taken out by the U.S. Is that accurate? I don't know if that's accurate. I don't think China's not on the petrodollar. I don't think we've taken out any of their leaders. is or at least under Sharia law, the woman wouldn't have to worry about having a voter ID. Oh, this is a fair point. I'm Indian Muslims. So you're an Indian Muslim in the UK. Okay. I hear you make good butter chicken over there. It's like replaced fish and chips as the national food. Anyway, so what is the petrodollar? For those who don't know, the petrodollar means that oil is priced in dollars. Like that's the standard way of buying it and selling it. Like it's it's dollars for oils. The price is based in dollars. It's like right now, everybody's talking about how many dollars per barrel oil is, and it went up to 120 or something, and now it's down to 90 or something. I don't know what it is right now, but that's how the value of oil is determined. It's based on the dollar. And so since oil is bought and sold with US dollars, that means US dollars have a global demand because everybody needs dollars because everybody needs oils. And if they're going to buy and sell oil from other countries or sell it to other countries, that means they need dollars. So countries and corporations worldwide must acquire and hold US dollars to purchase oil, which drives up international demand, right? So that seems to be good for America, right? What happened in 1971, there was what's called the Nixon shock, where the dollar left. We left the dollar left the gold standard, and that was the end of what was called Bretton Woods convertibility. But then there wasn't any basis to determine the value of the dollar, which kind of caused a kind of uncertainty. So then the new system began the rise of the first petrodollar era, which meant kind of oil now it determines the value of the dollar, and the dollar determines the value of the oil. Oil trade moves to dollars, oil exports invest dollars in the US market. So what happened is like Saudi Arabia and the other OPEC countries, they agreed to buy and sell oil solely based on dollars, and then they would invest those dollars in the US market. So then they could get rich and America could get rich and everybody else could get screwed. And that's why we've had this crazy relationship with so many of the Middle Eastern countries. A lot of the wealthy people in those countries, are extremely wealthy, and the poor people in those countries are extremely poor, and they blame the US for facilitating the system that leaves them in poverty. And that's why they yell things like death to the USA. It's not because they just inherently hate Americans. It's because America's involvement in Middle Eastern politics has rendered them oppressed. Oil trade moves to dollars. Oil exporters invest dollars in the US market, and then that requires security partnerships with the US. Then, so you get the oil dollars, they go into the US assets. And we'll get into this in a bit, but the US assets part of it is important because it's not just the US, the average Joe. I'm not getting any money from oil dollars. And then those global savings flow into US markets. So there's something called exorbitant privilege, and which means, so what happens is we have all these dollars. We're selling US dollars, basically. And when we're selling those US dollars, we can borrow against it at really low interest rates. And so that allows us to run huge trade deficits, because what we're exporting basically is dollars, and rather than like a good or a service or something. And so that's why, like Donald Trump's always worried about these trade deficits, and he doesn't understand, anything about the economy. But what offsets that, and what makes that work for us, is the petrodollar and being able to borrow in our own currency. So this is like, if to put things in perspective, this is the global reserve currency. 59% of all global reserve currency, and this is like what countries keep in reserve too, so they can do things like buy and sell oil. 59% of all global reserve currency is the US dollar, and that's a big issue from the petrodollar. 20% is the euro, and then 5% is the yen, 4% is the pound, and what the yuan, or I don't know how to pronounce it, the Chinese currency yuan. All right. So the system works because, one, we have deep markets in the US. We're like the wealthiest economy in the world. And we have a trust that has been built up over time. Like we're a stable economic environment where we've been the good guys. We've been, democracy and all that until now. So, comment break. Let's go back and look at some of these comments. So, Prof is a red-blooded American. I don't know what color blood, what blood US is owned by Zionists. They don't celebrate the 4th of July in the UK. Isn't that crazy? And they don't celebrate Guy Fawkes Day in America. We should price oil in Bitcoin. Oh, goodness. That would be a disaster. Saddam taken out, Gaddafi taken out, Maduro taken out. Well, that's 4. And I don't know. I don't think Saddam ever went off the petro. I don't think Gaddafi did. I don't think Maduro did. I don't think Iran had a choice. Only the U.S. Well, I mean, maybe Maduro did, but I think more the Venezuela had sanctions. I mean, I think you're confusing countries that had sanctions on them. We'll get into it in a minute, but some countries didn't leave the petrodollar. They were banned from it. Only the U.S. celebrates, because of sanctions. Only the U.S. celebrates the 4th of July. The 4th of July is just a day. You guys mean Independence Day. Triffin's dilemma. I don't know what Triffin's dilemma is. Let me see what that means. Okay. See, I'm always happy to learn on this show. What is Triffin's dilemma? Okay, ChatGPT, do your thing. Triffin's dilemma is a problem that happens when a country's currency is used as the world reserve currency. It was first described by Robert Triffin in the 1960s. So the dilemma explains why the system that makes global economy work can eventually undermine the country using it. The world needs a lot of dollars to trade, save, and invest. To supply those dollars, the United States must run the trade deficits, meaning more dollars flow out to the rest of the world than can come back. But over time, those deficits can weaken the domestic economy. Man, dude, I don't even need to finish the slideshow. You just basically covered it for me, but I'll still do it because I worked on it. But yeah, that's the general gist of a lot of what I have to say here. We had to go off the gold standard because France wanted their gold back and we didn't have enough gold to give them. Now money is created out of thin air when you take out a loan from a bank. Well, it's not really complete. That's a stretch to say it's out of thin air. I mean, it's not like if I go to the bank and I withdraw $20, that $20 is $20 that did not exist before. It didn't just appear. Like, anyway, does that change to you if it's not $20 in cash? If I pay for something with a debit card, the same $20 from the same bank account, you need oil to survive and you need US dollars to buy oil. Therefore, the US dollar becomes valuable. Yes, that is true. That's basically what the petrodollar is. Oh my God, here. What's the subject? We're talking about the petrodollar today, Brett. How's it going? Oh, I think we've cleared up. We had some bot issues, but I think they cleared up. But I'm glad you're here. We had some real bot issues going on. And Kitty's here too. Boy, you guys both got here. Brett just got here. Kitty just got here. Right after all the bots left. We were swarmed there, Kitty, for a bit, but I had to do some kicking on my own. Really not the same insane America got independence. Really not that insane. America got independence from Britain. Why would British celebrate? It's a joke, Harry. Somebody's making a joke. Saddam was a nut job. He used chemical weapons against his own people. Yes, he did. I don't know why this is relevant to anything. The whole thing about the Iraq War was not about whether or not Saddam Hussein had ever used chemical weapons against his own people. Everybody knew he did. It was whether or not he still had chemical weapons, which he did not, and everybody knew he did not. And George Bush and his administration lied to Congress. They lied to the American people. They lied to the UN about it. Everybody knows they lied. There were never any weapons of mass destruction found, and everybody knew they didn't. And they tried telling the same lie about how Iraq was getting nukes. It's like, fool me once, in the words of George W. Bush. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, ain't gonna fool me again. So, Triffin, yes. I am proud of you being oh, sorry. Didn't mean to read that one out loud. All right. Why, economic paradox. Yes. Why would pricing oil? Because Bitcoin is, I don't even want to go into it. There is a whole lot wrong with it. It's unregulated is the primary thing. It is not created out of thin air. There's no official thing backing it except, yes, but that's not the same thing as creating it out of thin air. What backs it is the U.S. economy. But like whether if it's gold, what gives gold value other than the fact that we assign it value? Gold is not inherently worth what it's worth. It's worth what we say it's worth. It's like a house, right? How can two houses that have almost the same exact composition, why can one be worth 5 times as much as the other one? It's because of location, right? What makes location worth money? It's because we assign it value. All value, everything that has value is just based on what we assign it. This is a very specific system. I'm assuming you meant specific on how much money to make, when to make it, and when to put it in the system. Like every currency. Although the petrodollar is coming to it. Yeah, I think that's we're heading into that direction. Like even in the deck, I'll talk about that in a bit. Hi, Kitty. Plus, South America is already looking at its own currency, which they want to purchase oil with. Good. One of you guys is already getting to work. I'm pretty sure the European Union will use the euro to purchase oil within the coming years. And I don't think, one of the things I've been thinking about with this and I think I'll cover it a bit, is how much does things like attacking Iraq, attacking Venezuela, starting random trade wars, how much does all of that encourage people to leave it? To like, it's not worth it. Like, one of the reasons that people were willing to go along with the petrodollar is our stability. But when we have an unstable maniac as president declaring 39% tariffs on other countries because the president spoke to him with a haughty tone, maybe that's not the best thing in our financial best interest. Oh man, 2 bad days in a row for you, kitty, or 3. Big hug. If you think if you hide the bots and trolls, they will still see their own text. And they will think they are interacting. It will keep your algorithm up. That's a good. I can't hide them from here though. From StreamYard. No, the first Gulf War was fought because the first Gulf War was invaded because Saddam invaded Kuwait for no reason except that they would write off his debts for him. Right. I'm talking about the second Gulf War. The second Gulf War was fought over fake. Bush II war was fought over fake weapons of mass destruction, which is why I think when you have these MAGAs talking about how Iran was about to get nuclear weapons, yeah, I watched that movie. I watched the first version of that movie already. The first Gulf War, I was actually in agreement with. I think there's an irony there in that it's the exact opposite of what's happening now. The first Gulf War, first of all, Bush got the Herbert Walker Bush got the entire world on board with us. Even Russia was on our side. Like the entire world, just they're like, yeah, he went and he said, sovereign rights matter. And you can't just go and invade another country. You can't just go and take them over. And so then we went to war with Iraq. The entire world went to war with Iraq, pushed them out like in a blink of an eye. And then we stopped at the border. And Bush was like, no, if we go after them, we're doing the same thing we just fought against. And, so we didn't go and we didn't invade Iran or Iraq the first time. We never invaded Iraq. We just pushed them out of Kuwait. The second time we invaded Iraq on a false pretext that they were a threat. And that was actually the preemptive threat thing. Like the preemptive war, well, they're going to attack us if we don't attack them first. Like that was the inaugural use of that. And now it seems to be the perennial use of that. It's like when I punched my brother one time because he was going to punch me and my mom didn't believe me for some reason. At least that's the excuse I tried to give her. The second goal, okay. Well, they also said that Iraq was developing nuclear weapons and they had, like, look up Iraq war aluminum tubes. They were pitching this lie that Iraq was trying to develop nuclear weapons. And they even cited that they had these aluminum tubes, but it would have been impossible for them to develop nuclear weapons with those aluminum tubes. They weren't good enough. No, nobody agreed. Like, we went to the UN and the UN didn't go along with it because the UN didn't believe us. And I mean, this is not hindsight. I had a whole, this was back in the early days of the internet. I even started a website, crushbush.com. And it was all dedicated to opposing the war before it started. So for me, you say, so in hindsight, yes, containment would have been a better policy. But even at the time, everyone agreed with the intelligence community. No, I mean, that's just not true. And I know that because I was arguing against it at the time. And the UN sent in an inspections team, and the UN inspection team said he didn't have them. The whole world knew he didn't have them. Everybody knew Bush was lying, but we did it anyway. Bitcoin is a very volatile, especially because of this current administration. Yeah. That's, what if we went into crypto, like if we went on a crypto based currency right now, don't tell me that you don't think that Trump crypto or the Trump coin or whatever it is, that wouldn't be the basis for the new currency. You know darn well it would be. Saddam tried to switch the petrodollar to euro dollars in 2000, shortly after he was dead. Bitcoin. Oh, so you're. Yeah, that's not why he was dead. Bitcoin has historically been volatile over time. It has become, yeah, but who says we're going to use Bitcoin? And why should we use Bitcoin? No, just no. The US dollar is dependent on everyone trusting America as soon as other countries and investors. Don't the dollar crashes and America's held over the global financials. So maybe we should be more careful about what we do then. It's quite interesting how Switzerland works, because Switzerland has always maintained a very low value currency. They purchase loads of foreign currency to officially reduce the value of their own currency, especially from his Doral call. Yes. This was seen as an unfair trading practice by the U.S. government after the fact, but the original reason for imposing tariffs on Switzerland. But there was no trade, like the trade deficit. We're a bigger economy than Switzerland. It's like I buy more stuff from Walmart than Walmart buys from me. That doesn't mean that there's an unfair thing. When you buy something from some country, you're getting the thing. There's value in what you buy. When the human brain changed because we started using fire to cook our food, we started to believe in fictional stories, and those fictional stories are what can be used to control population. I think before we started using fire, we had fictional stories. Well over half the Swiss trade deficit. I don't know where all this is going. I don't know why you're talking about Switzerland here. I don't know what that has to do with anything we're talking about. I'm sorry. Trump's Doral call to CBS starting the war was complete to avert a Monday market crash. What is the Doral call? I don't know what the Doral call is. Did I miss something? He later denies his own words at a presser as he snapped. Where did you hear that? It's hard to keep up with all the crazy. I think I might know the conversation, but not know about that it's called the Doral call. And impose, yes. No, he said he imposed a 39% tariff on Switzerland because he didn't like the tone of voice the president was using. Yeah. That's no reason to go slapping tariffs on people because they didn't kiss the ring enough, which she wasn't obsequious enough. EU is working on decoupling, especially the U.S. monopoly. I agree with that. So USA is motivating other countries to get their own standards. Isn't this isolationist and was a precursor? Okay, so let me get back to the Trump is withdrawing Patriot and THAAD missiles components from South Korea. That's insane. Oh my goodness. I did not know that. Wow. I'm going to make Kelly a Bitcoiner. Give me a Bitcoin. Give me one Bitcoin and I will say nice things about Bitcoin. How much is a Bitcoin worth now? I mean, the thing is, if you just change the entire economy of the world to a single cryptocurrency, aren't you just like making everybody that owns Bitcoin mega billionaires? Like it just, and it's completely unregulated. And anyway, there's too many reasons. I think you're not thinking through what would have to happen in order for that to happen. I got off track too. What he's gonna? I don't even know what's going on here, man. I spent time developing this slideshow, and the world goes to even more hell, and I don't even know about it. Oh, I don't. Why Trump? Why do you like? It's so weird. It's just like, why do you make it about people's feelings about Trump instead of Trump's own actions? Like, if Donald Trump shot somebody on Fifth Avenue and I said murder is wrong, you would just be like, why do you hate Trump? He started a war. 150 schoolgirls are dead. Over 1,300 people are dead for a made-up reason. That bothers me. I don't care if it's Donald Trump that did it. I care that it was done. And yes, since it's Donald Trump that's did it, he's worth being criticized. Why can't you criticize him for killing 2,000 people or whatever it is now? Have a strong word. Hate is a strong word, Gary. He's ignorant trash and just happens to have billions of dollars. 70,000. Yeah, give me a Bitcoin. Give me one Bitcoin, and I will say all the nicest things about Bitcoin that you want me to say. You will make me a you will make me a Bitcoiner if you give me a Bitcoin. Literally. Well, I just dropped in to say hello and hope your day is going well, Kelly. Hope your day is going well too, Gary. I do hate Trump. I'm not gonna hide behind words, but I hate Trump because of the things he's done and said, and the just hundreds of thousands of lives he's ruined and destroyed. And I think that makes him a person worthy of my contempt. Hey, Dennis. I'm not going to call you the menace. Dennis, yes. Thank you for being respectful, Gary. Trump is useless. Please click the like button to bring more of the same in the channel. Yes, please. Everybody, click like, click subscribe. Be nice. I can be a menace. I bet you've heard that all the time. If it makes you feel any better, the name Kelly is like the worst name ever for the name game. You know, my younger brother, back when we were kids, he would say, Kelly, smelly Kelly with a big fat belly, shakes around like a bowl full of jelly, got so big at the local deli. So, like, all the words that rhyme with Kelly are completely unflattering. Okay. All right. So let's go into the next part of the slideshow. Why oil wars matter. So this is, let's talk about what's going on with Iran, with this. How do oil wars affect the petrodollar? The first thing it does is it sends shockwaves everywhere. It makes gas prices go up. It makes food prices go up. It makes shipping and travel go up. Just how does it make food prices go up? Because just the cost of transportation and everything. Like the food has to be shipped, right? The fertilizer also goes up. All kinds of it's not just the price of oil that goes up. It's the price of everything connected to oil that goes up. It's massive, massive inflation nationwide, worldwide. So this is like a history of events that happened that correlated with oil shock and inflation going together. So 1973, the oil embargo. 1979, the Iranian Revolution. Remember the 80s, the stagflation, all that was connected. The Gulf War in 1990. That actually, ironically, ended up causing a recession in the United States and caused Bush a second term. I didn't vote for him, but I mean, ironically, he did the one thing he should have done, and he got criticized for it, and he lost the election as a result of it. And you see these, as the price of oil goes up or down, so does so does inflation. 2008, the oil spike happened to happen right around the time that the housing bubble burst. Then the Ukraine war, when Russia invaded Ukraine, those gas prices that everybody blamed the Biden for, the same thing that's happening right now with the gas prices. A war interrupted the global oil supply and made the price of oil go up, and then everything else was downstream from there. So the inflation rates came out today, and they hold firm at 2.4%. But I wouldn't read too much into that because it's going to get worse. We've already seen it go worse. Because this has the potential to be the biggest oil shock in the history of the world. This is the Strait of Hormuz. This is the area that everybody's talking about. 20% of all, 1/5. Think about that. 1/5 of the entire world's oil is going through there, and it's not getting through. So every day, massive amounts of oil is getting not sent, and it's not the kind of thing that once this ends and it opens back up, that all of a sudden it's gonna, fix the next day. It's gonna take weeks, months to recover from this. Don't think that the price of gas is gonna come down in a couple of days. You hear these MAGAs sitting there going, well, it's worth the price. Why is it worth the price? What price? What makes it worth it? What are we getting out of it? It's just like, I wish a MAGA could figure out how to think instead of just repeat what Donald Trump says. So anyway, the ironic thing is that two things happen at the same time when there's this oil shock. The oil shock causes a supply disruption and price spike. So prices go up around the world. Prices go up because supplies go down, and when supplies goes down, prices go up. Supply and demand and all that. On the other hand, because everything's tied to the dollar, and you got the petrodollar, when you have these things happen, the dollar gets stronger. When the price of oil goes up, the value of the dollar goes up because they're connected to each other. So there's some people that actually benefit from the price of oil going up. Sanctions power. Wait, how did I put this? Okay. So I just wanted to talk about, I mentioned, I don't know if I put this in the right place. Sanctions power. Dollar as a financial weapon. Somebody had brought up something earlier, but because of the petrodollar, the U.S. can basically freeze people out of the U.S. banking system. And when they do, those people can't buy dollars anymore. They can, or at least stop buying dollars from the Treasury and bonds from the Treasury. And then that means that they can't buy and sell oil anymore. So that becomes a huge negative to their country and to their economy. And that's things that happen to Venezuela and Iran. The way that things work right now is, let's say Saudi Arabia wants to buy or sell oil to England. Then England buys it from Saudi Arabia, but they actually go through the U.S. banking system. That through this U.S. system, there's a specific system for this. The England and Saudi Arabia, they make this transaction through this system that's based in the dollars in the U.S. banking system, if that makes sense. So if somebody's removed from that system, they're no longer able to carry out those transactions. That's how the sanctions work. I did not know this. I found that was interesting. Learn something new every day, right? So what do you think? Does this war strengthen the dollar? What do you think? Is this good for us or bad for us in terms of just the petrodollar? Okay, so I don't know if I should prove that comment to go through the YouTube filter. I think I'll let Kitty or Kelly take it. I don't know what the comment was. Approve. Trump is a pedophile murderer. It's sad. It is sad, though. In 1913, my country was the center of the world financial system. Not many. Are you actually in Switzerland? I mean, like, pissing off Switzerland is a special kind of stupid. How do he pissed off Switzerland and Canada? That's like pissing off the two nicest guys in the room. Like Switzerland is just like famously doesn't like to fight anybody. They're literally famous for not being controversial. What happened to going electric? We're gonna get into that. That's part of the deck I've got here. National average for diesel is $4.83 per gallon, and I think it's up to like $3. What is the price of gasoline right now? $3.57. Oh, you want to know? Here, I've got this. And let me throw this up here. This is a cool thing. This is I looked at this earlier today. So every 10 cents a gallon that gas goes up, we spend another $37 million a day as a nation. So right now it's up almost 60%. So we're spending an extra $150 million a day, more than $150 million, more like $187 million a day, just so that Trump can have his little war. A day, $187 million per day. And since the war started, we spent about $2 billion extra dollars, not dollars total in gas, $2 billion extra dollars in gasoline, thanks to Donald Trump's war. But it's worth it because we're getting freedom and we're not going to be under Sharia law or live in a nuclear cloud. Oh, you're Danish. Oh no, he's Danish. Harry's Swiss. And Dennis is Danish. So Dennis, can you clear something up for me? Because if I remember this correctly, I have a friend who, when I was doing basketball writing stuff, he was telling me, if I remember this right, there's a basketball player named Bol Bol that apparently in Danish the word Bol Bol is a bad word. Is that true? Because he was he's a TV analyst, so they had to, anyway. It was a hard name for them to say on TV. If I remember the player right, I think it was Bol Bol. Okay. Trump hates solar, wind, or any other type of energy. The only kind of wind that Donald Trump's like is when he breaks it. Where do we get oil now? Oil prices in Germany are double now. The most disgusting thing is that my government has huge North Sea reserves we could use, but instead they're cutting back on oil production because apparently our oil is depleted. Why didn't they just take the oil and stay out there, problem solved? What are you talking about with Iraq? They're going to keep rising. It's burning. Yeah. And yeah, blowing up the oil wells is probably not all that helpful. He also calls wind turbines windmills, but windmills just grind grain about 200 years ago. And the windmills are killing all the whales, all those flying whales jumping into the windmill blades or something. So as a president, you can value the US dollar with your crazy policies and just start a little war in the Middle East to strengthen the US dollar. Yeah, pretty much. That would seem to be the nice thing about being a MAGA is what you think today has to have nothing to do with what you thought yesterday. So whatever, as long as words can come out of their mouth, it doesn't need to make sense. Trump is being dog walked by the leash compliments of BB. So gas is just going to cost more. Gas is going to be costing more for a while. And MAGA is still crying about $100 for a poor family to eat per month and wants to cut the medical. Hey, Kitty, can you look at the private chat for a second? No, it really doesn't. The British financial system controls when money is traded. But New York and Frankfurt and Singapore and Hong Kong, they would all easily take over from London like that. It's interesting perspective. I haven't looked at this, and I probably should look at it more from not just an Americentric perspective. But it's an interesting thing that you're bringing to the discussion, that we are not the only country in the world, and that's actually okay. That's what I thought. But yeah, that was okay. That's what he said, and I thought I remembered that right, but I thought you might get a kick out of that if you. So yeah, so bull, it's not a word you can. It's like, anyway. When they first, the first time it happened, they were like trying not to laugh while they were saying it. Yeah, he has no remorse killing a bunch of kids in Iran, but he hates the idea of seabirds being killed by wind turbines. More like anyway. The Europeans and British and others aren't working together. They're all just individually going to kiss Donald Trump's butt at a decent deal and then leave again. Okay. All right. So right now, I'm going to take a quick intermission, and I'll come back and I will go into the next section, but of this slide deck. But right now, I need to step aside for a minute. It's the problem with having a one-man show. Hello, I'm back. Thank you for waiting if you waited. Bye, Harry, even though I missed you. Did you? I hope you found your earbuds. All right, so let's go on to this next step. Okay, so that brings us to the petrodollar paradox. The paradox is that one, it attracts foreign capital and lowers borrowing costs, because when you have the price of oil going up and the dollar getting stronger, the price the interest rate on borrowing it goes down. But then when the price of dollar goes up, it also makes the US dollar stronger than other world currencies relative to other currencies. And so that means it's actually cheaper to manufacture things and other countries and then import them than to manufacture things here and then export them. Exports become more expensive and imports become cheaper, which causes the trade deficit to grow. So in a way, the thing that Donald Trump is so insane about trying to stop, the trade deficit, he's actually making worse with this petrodollar paradox. So this is the trend in manufacturing since 1950. You see this gradual decline over the last 50 some years, the gradual loss in jobs. We were at 16, I guess that's 0.25 million, down to 14.25 million. So we're giving up manufacturing jobs because of the petrodollar. It's actually having a negative effect on jobs. We're encouraging we're encouraging our companies to offshore jobs with the petrodollar just by the very thing that makes the petrodollar more effective, or what the same things that make the petrodollar stronger also make problems for American workers. So they can produce things elsewhere cheaper and then import it into the US. So it's not like you're forcing companies to offshore jobs. It's not like you're encouraging them to do it or anything, or you're forcing them to it. But you don't have to force a horse to eat an apple. Like, you put an apple in front of a horse's face, he's going to eat the apple. You make it cheaper for companies to offshore labor, they're going to offshore labor. And that's going to have a detrimental effect on U.S. manufacturing. So companies just follow profit signals. They're going to produce where the costs are lowest, and they're going to sell where the markets are largest. The markets are lower, the cost is lower overseas, the markets are larger over here. They're just looking to maximize profits. That's capitalism for you. Like all these capitalists, but they get all upset about things that are capitalism. And so what ends up happening is all of this just reinforces the K-shaped economy. People that have assets and people that don't have assets. That's what we're dividing the world up into more and more. That's what we're dividing the American economy up into more and more. It's just assets and don't have assets. Haves and have-nots. People that just live off of their wealth and people that live off of their income. Entirely different groups of people. Donald Trump, his entire life, has just lived off his wealth. He's never had to cash a paycheck. He's never had to worry about money. He's never had, he sits there and he says he's willing to live with the price of gas going up. Of course he is. It has absolutely zero impact on his life. The price of gas going up isn't going to make him like have to not pay a bill. So, all right, comment break. Is it worth it? What do you think? Should we be incentivizing American companies to export jobs? And does the petrodollar do that? And was anybody left? Everybody's got to go. Okay. Oh, sorry, Kitty. I hope you feel better. I'll send you a message. So anyway. So I'll just keep going then. All my commenters are leaving. Trump doesn't even know what gasoline smells like. He's never pumped a single gallon, let alone know where his own kitchen is. What is groceries? He thinks you need an ID to buy groceries. That just tells me he's never bought groceries. Dennis is still listening. Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate anybody that listens. I've been to Denmark, by the way. I used to live in Europe a couple of times. I lived in England and I lived in Italy. Denmark is a lovely little country. And I hope how do you feel, how do you feel about the whole Greenland situation? I mean, I'm sorry you have to deal with that kind of crap. Anyway. Let's go on. So who benefits from the war? There's three categories of people that are benefiting from this war right now. There's energy people, right? Oil and gas companies that for obvious reasons benefit. There's the defense contractors that benefit. And there's the finance people that benefit because of the strengthening of the dollar and all that. So energy profits, higher oil prices, increase revenue, oil company. So it's like it's not just the cost of the oil that comes from the Middle East that goes up, right? Our exported oil also goes up. Our domestically sold oil also goes up. All the oil companies in the whole world, they're not like paying different amounts of money for oil. Our oil gets more expensive too, which means the people that are selling that oil are also making more money. The people that sell oil are banking right now, especially if they don't have to go through the Gulf of Hormuz. Our exported oil right now is not in any danger. Where our oil companies are making money hand over fist. And then not only them, energy stocks often rise during supply shocks. The oil-based stocks are going up. Defense contractors. So wars increase military spending. We've already got requests for like billions and billions of new dollars. We used to care about the fraud in Minnesota, which was actually only $285 million and had already been prosecuted. But we like to pretend, like the MAGAs like to pretend they were really upset about, oh, we wasted all those billions of dollars. But then we're spending $1 billion a day easily in the war. I think we've spent $5.85 billion just in ordnance, just on munitions. That's not counting all the rest of it. So who's going to replenish those weapons? Who's going to build the new jets to replace the 3 that were shot down? Defense contractors. That's who. They receive these huge government contracts. And defense budgets often rise during conflicts. See the requests for new spending that we were just talking about. So financial markets, how does that happen? Global capital moves into the U.S. assets during crises. I couldn't get rid of that stupid American flag thing there. I don't know why. Treasury bonds seen as a safe haven, and financial markets benefit from capital inflows. So this is what we're talking, just by nature of the dollar and the dollar strengthening and having assets go up during these things. So in general, the financial markets actually do well. If you have stocks, they're doing well. Well, some of them are, but anyway, there are people that are making money out of it. Who owns the assets? 89% of all stocks are owned by the top 10% of Americans. And the other 11% is owned by the bottom 90%. Somebody that's making 50 grand a year is not sitting there collecting their 401k and making all of this money. They're not accumulating massive amounts of money in stocks. The people that are making money off of this war already have it. The people who are losing money off of this war are people that don't have it. Who benefits? The asset owners. Who doesn't benefit? The income earners. Why? Because their costs are going up. These guys, the value of their assets are going up. These guys, their everyday costs are going up. And they're going up significantly. The price of gas, again, I'll say it again, $2 billion. Americans have spent $2 billion in 10 days more on gasoline than they would have if Donald Trump had not started this war. That's a lot of money. So who plays? We do. Inflation. And it's not just the gas. It's not just the gas. It's all those things that oil produces. Everything from makeup to plastic wrap to paint thinner to fertilizer. There is like so many things that are derived from oil that aren't gasoline. And all of those things, the price of oil going up is going to affect those things. And the cost of transportation and the cost of vacations and not hotels, but airplanes, air flights. You know what I'm saying? The overall cost of everything is going to go up. The cost of food, because the cost of transporting that food is going up. So household energy burden, the price of just your household energy is going to go up. And this has a regressive effect on the economy. The less money you make, the more impact it has, because the less money you make, the higher percentage of your income you spend on energy. Low-income households spend about 15% of their income on energy. Middle-income households spend about 9% of their income on energy. And high-income households spend about 5% of their income on energy. So the less money you make, the higher percentage of your income you spend on energy. Ergo, the more the price of energy goes up, the more it affects people that have less money. And it's not just that by itself either. It's like if you wanted to undermine the American economy, you would do exactly what Trump is doing. I'm not saying that that he's trying to do it. I'm just saying if you were trying to undermine the American economy, if you were trying to dismantle it, you could not do a better job than he's doing, because all of these things stack up on each other. You've got oil, tariffs, and labor shortages. And that's actually, I should have on here, the austerity cuts too. And a lot of these things they pile up. So like the mass by labor shortages, there's one that doesn't have anything to do with Trump. It's just that boomers are getting to retirement age. So a higher percentage of our country is getting past the age of retirement, and so they're retiring and they're out of the workforce. So which means we have fewer workers. And then we have the mass deportations going on, which also means there are fewer workers. And that one Donald Trump is responsible for. So you've got, like, say, somebody owns a strawberry field and 30-40% of their workforce was undocumented immigrants. And so now they don't have anybody to work the strawberry fields because they can't afford to pay American workers because it's just too expensive. And so then the strawberry field the whole farm goes under. Say what you want about that. We're not going to get into that. Just in terms of supply and demand, there's that many less strawberries to sell on the market. There's fewer strawberries, which right away that means, because of supply and demand, it's going to go up, right? There's just fewer strawberries, same demand, strawberries get more expensive. Then on top of that, you would normally offset the loss of the strawberries by just importing more strawberries. But now the cost of imported strawberries is also going up because of these tariffs. Then you also, on top of all of that, now you've got this war, which means that the price of oil goes up, which means the cost of transporting those imported strawberries goes up. So it's like a triple whammy on just buying a strawberry. That's what I mean by stacking. You've got these prices that aren't just going up, they're being stacked one on top of another. They're exacerbating one another. And the cumulative effect is not just additional, it's exponential. So what we're heading for is a word that became popular in the 70s or in the 80s. It's called stagflation. And if I get to the next No Kings protest, I want to go as an inflatable deer because I want to go as stagflation. What stagflation is when inflation and unemployment go up at the same time, and at the same time that's happening, GDP is going down. And the reason this becomes an issue is that the Fed controls interest rates, uses interest rates to balance inflation and unemployment. So usually the theory is that when unemployment is low, then that will cause inflation to go up a little bit because everybody has a job, everybody has money to spend. That results in a scarcity of resources, which causes prices to go up. And if prices are going up, if you raise the interest rates, that means people will invest less in new businesses because it's going to be harder to take out a business loan, which means that there's going to be fewer new jobs, which means that unemployment is going to start going up a little bit. But if unemployment starts going up too much, there's less money in the economy, prices start coming down. And so then when prices start coming down and employment starts going up, you want to encourage people to open new businesses, so you lower the interest rates. And so the interest rates are a way of calibrating inflation and unemployment so that they can both be in like the green at the same time. That's why with the international supply chain being such a mess and all of the chaos in the post-pandemic recovery, there are a lot of people thought we were going to go into a recession. And when we talked about Biden landing the recovery, a lot of that's what we're talking about. He managed to avoid stagflation. We never went into a recession, and while inflation went up, he was able to bring it back down considerably without inflation or unemployment going through the roof. When you have inflation or stagflation, it's really hard to recover from because the Fed doesn't know what to do. It's either going to make unemployment worse or it's going to make inflation worse. And what caused the stagflation in the 80s was an oil crisis. So this is very significant to what we're talking about right here. So, all right, comment break. Do you guys like the comment break thing? I think the comment flick, I like the way this is working out. Gives me a nice rhythm to when to go through comments. Okay, wow, we've got a lot of comments that went on. Okay. We think Trump is a clown. Yeah, we do too. He even wears makeup like a clown. Most do. Oh no, it looks like Trump is making the rich even richer. Who would have guessed? Never would have seen that coming. Never would have seen that coming, especially himself. He is a clown trying to tell the world that Iran took out its own school with a Tomahawk missile. I mean, it's a Tomahawk. That was, and Brett, before you got here, I was talking about how today he was saying, they asked him about that, and he's like, well, I don't know anything about that. And I'm like, you're the president of the United States and you haven't even asked? You're not even curious enough to ask? You're like, yeah, you've been like, this should be on your radar. So either you do know something about it and you just don't want to talk about it and you're lying through your teeth, or you're an idiot and an incompetent fool who's too unaware of what's going on to even be remotely curious to ask. Like, either way, there's no way that answer is an answer a president should give. Raytheon does not sell to Iran. Yeah, there's only a few countries in the world that have Tomahawk missiles, and none of them, Israel doesn't have them either, I don't think. None of the countries that have it fire missiles that day. Like, the only possible answer is the US. And I think now there's like even a Pentagon report or something that says we did it. And that's what he was being asked about. Why would Trump try to undermine America? It's not like he's a Russian puppet. So that's I like that was dry. I like that one, Prof. So is the end goal to dismantle the US economy or just to enrich himself? Yes. I can't help but think that on some level it's both. There is I wish I could think of the name of it. But there is a okay, hang on, let me see if I can't think of the title of it. I'm seeing if ChatGPT knows. I've been trying out different AIs. So okay, I can't. It doesn't give me the name of the book, but the writer is Ivan Ilyin, and he's somebody that Putin always quotes. And he, if you go through that book, there's a lot of things that are articulated in that book that like how to undermine American democracy and stuff like that. That a lot of the things that are in his writings are things Trump is doing. It's almost like he is a doing a textbook deconstruction of the American democracy and economy by Putin's favorite writer. I've heard theories they want to crash the economy to buy it for dirt cheap. I think they just want to crash the economy so that they can take over Europe again. I mean, Putin is a sociopath, and so is Donald Trump. Meanwhile, TSA workers are quitting, 300 so far. Nobody works for no paycheck forever. Yeah. And it's like all that has to happen is for the Trump administration to say, okay, we'll honor the Fourth Amendment. Like we'll stop doing warrantless searches. And they're like, oh, this thing about administrative warrants. Administrative warrants are not what the Fourth Amendment talks about. Administrative warrants are like, okay, you can give yourself a warrant. I mean, that's not a warrant. The Constitution says it has to be an independent warrant. Not to mention the ecological problems. Yes. That are causing bees to die out worldwide. A lot of China manually pollinates with feathers. I don't know about that. What does that mean? But I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought you were going in a different direction. I was thinking of the ecological problems that are being caused by us bombing Iranian oil wells and the acid rain that's falling on the Iranian people and destroying the Iranian environment. Like, we're doing generations of damage to Iran right now. Prof likes the comment break. So do I. I think they help me stay even with the comments and not getting distracted. I have to admit it hurt to delete my account with OpenAI. Why'd you have to do that? Alexander, most of China has no bees. Well, it's C-H-I-N-A, so it has two A's, one C, one H, one N, but no B's. Alexander, maybe it's Alexander Dugan. Maybe that's one. Anyway, I'll find out. It was Claude that gave me that. All right. So The next thing to cover with all of this is looking at the future of energy, because I think, like with the petrodollar, it's only as like it's on its last legs, not just because of, I think that there's uh some people are trying to leave it now because you have this unstable sociopath in charge of America. And I think like what happened is the first time the rest of the world was like, what the hell were you thinking? But then we elected Biden and they're like, okay, welcome back. Welcome back to the reality world, or America. You just don't do that again. And then we did it again. And now the rest of the world's like, screw this. We don't trust you anymore. The rest of the world doesn't trust America to not be idiots anymore. And so I think that's going to cause countries to like not want to be part of this whole petrodollar experiment anymore. But that's only part of it. I think the other thing that's happening is that while the rest of the world is acknowledging, like little things like science and climate change, Donald Trump wants to pretend it's a hoax. It doesn't even matter what your views on climate change are. The rest of the world believes in it, and the rest of the world is shifting towards renewable energy. So like this right now, so in 2016, 2015, we were at 23% of the world's energy was renewable energy. We're up to 33% now. And by 2030, we should be up to 46%. We're not that far away from having more than half the world's energy being renewable energy. And yes, the other half will still be oil. And then this is also a little bit, the amount of energy we're consuming is going up too. But we're moving in the direction of being less dependent on oil. And there's some, China's becoming a huge, they're building massive amounts of solar panels. And the thing about solar energy is you don't export sunlight, but you can export solar panels. So they're way ahead of us on things like solar panels and solar energy. And right now they're working on getting more of their country to renewable energy, more than they are just exporting renewable energy, or the means to have renewable energy. But I'm not talking about things like overnight here, but generational. Like over the next generation, over the next 20 years, we are like the petrodollar is not going to be as significant in 20 years as it is today, based simply on the fact that so much more of our energy is not going to be based on oil anymore. Countries aren't going where we're going to be at with battery capacities and stuff in 20 years, where we've made vast improvements just in the last 5 years. So, we're committing ourselves to this thing that doesn't have a future. EV adoption is another example. In 2015, only 1% of cars were EVs. In 2020, it was 4%. In 2022, it was 14%. Now it's 20%. And it's going up. By 2030, it should be 40%. Some countries are already getting to that. China has a massive number of EVs. And by the way, their EVs, as I mentioned yesterday, theirs are better than ours. Tesla's nothing compared to some of these cars. The other thing is the petrodollar is not the entire financial system of the world. Like it is a large impact on it, but it's not the only impact on it. It's not even like the major impact on it. The non-oil parts of things matter more than the oil part. So if we're talking about a generational shift, we're talking like 30 years. We over the next 30 years, we're going to have an entire new grid, entire new systems, entirely more efficient things. We're going to have renewable energy. It's going to become much more popular. So we need to think we need to think about these things now. We can't start in 30 years when it's too late. China right now is getting ahead of us for the future. Don't worry about whether or not China is passing us now. Worry about your kids. Where are your kids going to be relative to China? So, like, what world are we building for the next generation? That's the question I want to leave this on. And it's not just about what's happening right now. It's about what is going to happen over the next 20, 30 years. Most of China, okay. Wait, Elon, what does Elon have to do with ChatGPT? I thought that was Grok. Dugin is about greater Eurasia with Russia. Were you here for my joke, Brett? Iran's nuclear weapons, Iraq's WMD, and Donald Trump's healthcare policy walk into a bar. I'll tell you the punchline in 2 weeks. Dugin is about greater Eurasia with Russia as the leader against the American hemisphere. Yeah, I think that's. I'll look at it. That might be worth a short little slide deck tomorrow. China is building all forms of electric generation, tons of solar and coal. Yeah, China last year alone built more solar just last year than we have entirely. Like more oil, more. They had more clean energy last year than we have clean energy in total, and it's really not even close. I'm still betting on the whole oil industry coming back. I think it's just going to become less important. I think it's on its way down. I don't think it's dead. Obviously, we still need it, but I think that it's past its prime. The oil industry is Michael Jordan after his second comeback. It's going to have its days. But it's not the same. Never-ending cycle. Destroy everything. Then, yes, Republicans destroy everything. Then the Democrats spend 4 years trying to fix it and don't get it done completely. Then the Republicans come in and blame everything they did on the Democrats. Wash, rinse, repeat. Except for Carter. With Carter didn't have a chance to fix everything. It was too messed up by the time Carter became president. Then Reagan just completely destroyed everything for the next 2 generations. You're really into this Bitcoin thing, huh? A generational shift, assuming we don't get vaporized in the next few weeks. Yeah. But, Iran's going to nuke us. So, what are you going to do? All right. So, all right. I think that's all for the slide deck today. And we're kind of sputtering out here. So that I'm just going to call this a wrap. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye. Hey, Brett, I was going to ask one thing. If you want to send me an email at machinepunkelly@gmail.com, then I wanted to ask you a couple of things, if you don't mind. I just wanted to ask you a couple of things not on the live chat. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. If you don't want to, don't worry. I just wanted to throw that out there. I didn't know how else to talk to you. Very interesting live. I subscribed to you, but I need to sleep now. Bye, y'all. Chat. Thanks, Dennis. Secret combo. No. All right. I'll talk to everybody later. Talk to you later. Bye.